Today I will try something different and record a review reaction in English. Sorry if my pronunciation is a bit fucked up. I haven't spoken English in like 5 years. My school days are long gone, and I hope you can understand what I'm saying. Um, it's about a Saw 7 review, Saw 3D, released in 2010. It was very controversial when it came out back then, especially among hardcore fans who were very displeased, very disappointed by the movie. And I want to talk about it, why that was. Why people were so let down by the movie. And this review by, I have to look it up, his name is Eric, I think, from Pretty Much It. He has since turned the video off to private, so you can only watch it if you have a link of it, or if you have it, like in my case, saved in your favorites of your YouTube videos. So I'm lucky I can still watch it. It's not public anymore, but I can still react to it because of it. And I will play it and I will say my opinion to it, because his opinion is pretty much the general consensus, the public opinion of Saw fans after this movie was released in 2010. It's now 15 years since then, and let's see how views may have changed. Well, my view, I'm only telling you my view. I don't know how fans in general have changed their opinion about the movie, if at all. But let's see.
I've been a huge Saw fan since 2004 when the original film came out, and I have been going at midnight every single year since to see the new installments. I've backed up the bad things in Saw, and I've praised the good, and whenever anyone knocks it and says that they're bad movies, stupid movies, I always tell them no, they are not. They are really, really great movies with a great storyline, and just wait until the end and see where it's going, because they said they have a plan. When it was announced that Saw 7 would be the final film and that it would be in 3D, I was a little bit skeptical, but everybody said to go in with an open mind, and so I did, at midnight, of course. And as soon as the credits rolled, I felt like I had been slapped in the face. Just a heads up, there are no spoilers in this review until the end. I will give you a heads up, so don't worry about it until I say so. This is a really difficult review to make for many reasons. One is that, like I said, I'm a huge Saw fan, regardless of Saw 3D, and I hate bad-mouthing the Saw series. It just doesn't feel right. Then there's Kevin, the director, Kevin Greuter, who was forced onto the project when he was supposed to go and direct Paranormal Activity 2. Twisted Pictures forced him back onto the project at the last minute. A week before they had to film, he was handed the script, and he just kind of was thrown into the mix. And I certainly don't want to place any blame on him, because it is absolutely not his fault. But Saw 3D was just was not really a Saw movie. It didn't feel like a Saw movie.
I really have to disagree with that one right off the bat, because especially after we have gotten Saw Spiral and before that Jigsaw, who are the supposed 8th and 9th film of the Saw series, Saw 7 feels like it is part of the original Saw movies that were released annually every October. And Jigsaw does not feel like a real Saw movie. It was a parody. Spiral didn't feel like a Saw movie. It didn't feel as much of a parody as Jigsaw did, because the Jigsaw was too funny. It was not taking itself too seriously. Like the Saw movies, they also had some leverage, some funny moments here and there, especially with Billy the puppet, Jigsaw's puppet, rolling around and stuff like that, or stupid deaths. But Jigsaw really felt like a parody. It didn't feel serious at many times in the movie. But Spiral, it doesn't even feel like a parody, it was like an insult. There's one line in the movie Saw Spiral that made me go spiral. When one of the detectives says, like, a police officer or a detective has never been found or never found himself among Jigsaw's crossfires. At least that's how the German dub is talking about it. It's basically saying that there has never been a detective been as a target of Jigsaw. And that insulted me as a fan so much because in every single Saw movie, there has been cops, detectives, even special agents from FBI being targeted by Jigsaw. In the first movie, it was Detective Tab and Detective Singh. Second movie, it was Front and Center with Detective Matthews, who even went on to go and be, at least, if not the main victim, still partly be the victim for the next three movies, Saw 2, 3, and 4. And Saw 3, not only do we have again Detective Matthews, we have Detective Carey also again in the crossfire of Jigsaw. Then Saw 4, we have the special agent, and supposedly, we also have Detective Hoffman, who turns out to be Jigsaw's right-hand man at the end. And what else? Also Saw 5 is again Peter Storm, special agent. In the 6 movies, there's also Agent Erickson and Perez, of course, as well, just like in the 4th movie. In the 7th movie, this one, it's Gibson, I think was his name. Yeah, Gibson. So that's why I feel like nowadays, in hindsight, you can't really accuse Saw 7 of being a non-Saw movie when in fact it is. It really much has the same heart as the first 6 movies. It's serious enough. It's still about world building enough. Of course, it has much less world building and flashbacks like the previous films. There's only one Jigsaw flashback in the entire movie, that's true. But still, at the core, it's still a Saw movie. It's not a parody like Jigsaw. It's not an insult like Spiral, who came years after. Like Jigsaw came 7 years later. Spiral, I think, came like another 2, 3 years later. I'm not mentioning Saw X, Saw 10, because that movie was one of the best Saw movies of all time. Like, I would argue it's the most in-depth Saw movie when it comes to fleshing out Jigsaw, John Kramer's character, and making the viewer feel sympathetic for him. But again, as talked a lot, but main point just being, Saw 7 feels like a Saw movie, especially in hindsight after Jigsaw and Spiral.
Did not. And the worst part is that the Saw movies, of course, are known for their great twist endings and their twists throughout and stuff like that. The twist ending, the final ending of the final Saw movie, this series that's gone over 7 films long once every year, the fans guessed the ending after Saw 2.
Okay, and that's a big thing that he criticizes, and many people had an issue with. Now, back then, I joined that wave. I was also disappointed by it, but that's 15 years ago. And now, how is it today? I would say I'm not as disappointed, and I would argue, like, why is that bad? If people can predict the ending, like everyone predicted Westworld season 1 that William was the man in black, and it turned out to be true, and no one freaked out about that because the clues were all there. Like the limping when Jigsaw, supposedly Jigsaw is cutting off Michael's eye. Everyone had that theory it might be Dr. Gordon because of the limping, because he lost his one foot. And furthermore down the line, there are all those really those traps where you really need to have a surgeon-like mindset, the skill of a surgeon to pull off these traps. So it's all in line. Like, if people predicted it, and just got even more evidence, movie by movie, that support this theory and have it make sense and give it a foundation, a build up, a support structure, so to speak. Like, then it makes sense. Like, then it's earned. The twist is earned if you have laid the groundwork for the twist and people were able to predict it.
In fact, not only did we guess the ending, but it has become a recurring joke every year that this would happen as a twist. And we always said, oh, that'll never happen, but could you imagine if it did? And it did. It actually was put into a script. Right?
Yeah, but why is that bad? I think it totally works out with Dr. Gordon. Like, he wasn't even if not only if we go leave the meta stage of bringing fan theories into the mix and just look at Dr. Gordon as a character. Dr. Gordon is no knight in shining armor since the beginning. He betrayed his wife, he didn't care about his patients, he was not a good person from the get-go. And he was fucked up enough to saw off his own foot to survive. I can totally see him develop a Stockholm syndrome for Jigsaw. To really feel like I can totally see him fall for the cult of personality that Jigsaw leaves behind and worshipping like, this is the man who saved me, this is the man who gave me a second chance, and this is the man I'm gonna commit crimes, or will at least support him into fulfilling his life's work, which is torturing other people until death. I think it makes so much sense. And like I said, back to the meta stage of fans predicting it, fans would not have predicted it if it wouldn't make sense. Yeah, you can belittle it that fans already figured out the ending, but like I said, Westworld, they already figured out who the Man in Black is after season 1, episode 2, and they were proven right 8 episodes later. People already figured out who Jon Snow's mother is in a Song of Ice and Fire book series. Immediately after the first book was released, that also came out right after the first book. And if there's ever gonna be a 6th book released, we can be sure it will be released in the 6th book, 5 installments after it has already been figured out by the fan base. So fans figuring out a twist, or even the supposedly biggest twist of the story, is not a bad thing by default. If the twist makes sense, if it works, and if it was properly built up for it in the prior installments, I think there's nothing wrong with it.
Now, as far as I'm concerned, Saw 1 through 3 are an amazing horror trilogy. 4, 5, and 6 are a good trilogy of...
I disagree with this as well. I think the Hoffman saga, like, which is basically the second half of the Saw franchise, of the real Saw movies, Saw 4, 5, and 6. This is Hoffman's saga, where we got so much more background flashbacks, not only of Hoffman, how we got to meet Jigsaw, but also Jigsaw himself before he even turned into this violent hypocrite. We get to learn his relationship with Jill and his trauma, and even more insight than just the cancer that made him do what he did. And I think those movies are so important and enrich the stories that also make you view the story with completely different eyes, because going forward from movie 4, 5, and 6, from the first 3 movies, it's not Jigsaw who is the big bad guy anymore. He's not the main antagonist, he's not the bad guy, he's not the psychopath torturing people without giving them a chance. That is Hoffman, and he has become the new antagonist. Jigsaw is, of course, still a psychopath and a bastard and bad person and all that, but Hoffman really took his place, kind of. Of course, you can't really replace Jigsaw, but at least the place as the real protagonist. And to be honest, I even think like Saw 2 is pretty overrated, and I would put Saw 4 and at least Saw 6 above Saw 2. Maybe not Saw 5. Saw 5, I feel like, is on the same level as Saw 2. So again, I would disagree with the blank statement that the first three movies, the first trilogy of Saw movies, is better by default than its second half. I don't agree with that.
Saw films, I guess. And then, what? 7? I didn't even know they made a Saw 7.
Oh my god, this sounds like a Game of Thrones Season 8 hater who denies Season 8's existence, or anything after Season 4, or anything after Season 5, 6, or 7. Like every hater has his own like denial stage where he proclaims this is where the story ended. Like just to proclaim anything other than Saw Season 8 as being the real ending.
Now, I didn't hate it. Although when I left, honestly, as the credits rolled, my reaction was literally,
I didn't hate it either initially. I was also disappointed back then, and I jumped the bandwagon because Saw has been the very real first big franchise I was sucked into and became a huge fan. Like, this was years before Game of Thrones and before TV shows in general, before The Walking Dead and Breaking Bad. There was Saw, and I was also disappointed by it. And I kind of learned my lesson not to expect too much for an ending or have unreasonable expectations. And that's also probably why I was able to go into the final season of Game of Thrones with an open mind, in order not to get disappointed again, because I already made that experience with the final Saw movie and I didn't want to repeat that. I learned my lesson already, and I think for many people it was their first real addiction, kind of, when it comes to fiction stories. Their first real passion was Game of Thrones, so they didn't already had that reality check to have reasonable expectations in order for not being disappointed afterwards. I had that luckily with Saw.
these people, them, and I just left. I swear to God, I picked up my drink and I left. I was just very, very upset. And
Wow, everyone leaves the movie once the movie is over.
I am still upset, and I don't know if it comes off, but I'm almost like shaking, like even thinking about the fact that I'm doing such a negative review of a Saw film. But I am a Saw fan, not a Saw worshiper, so if it's no good, I'm not going to pretend that it is. I'm sure there's plenty of people that are trying to trick themselves into thinking it's really great or whatever, and I'm sure there's people that did enjoy it, such as anyone that isn't that hardcore of a fan that knew the ending since 5 movies ago. And I'm not killing myself over this. I'm not like pissed and throwing things at the wall, but it really is just not good. And there's legitimate reasons why. It's really, I mean, it's an opinion thing, obviously, always, but there are many, many ways to back up that opinion. Such as the fact that in this film, really nothing fits together. That we've got the story that we've been following
It's bad writing all over again.
along of Hoffman and Jill, blah, blah, blah. And that's what I'm fine with. Honestly, I just want to stick with that. You know what I mean? I want to stick with the old stories. But then we've got another game going on with Bobby, and it's just, what's the point? What does that have to do with anything in the Saw universe? All of the advertising and stuff like that for the film said, all of my work has been leading to this. That's what Jigsaw says. Bullshit. Bullshit.
Yeah, that's another point I wanted to address. The marketing for Saw 7, in hindsight, was a disaster. It was probably the worst marketing for anything I have ever seen. Like, they made so many mistakes. But I will go into that later. Let him talk first.
That doesn't make any sense. What his work has been leading to this? This? Gotta be kidding me. That is another thing that I have to say is the marketing and everyone behind the film, liars. Total liars. 100% of the way. They all say, oh, it's great, fans are gonna love it. They have to.
Well, what do you expect them to say? Like, that's not something that only Saw is guilty of. Like, that's like the standard in entertainment. Like, if you market entertainment, you can't really say, yeah, this is like decent, but the movies before that, they were better. You can't really say that. You always have to say, it's better than ever, it's better than everything that came before. It's in movies, it's in TV shows, it's in video games, it's everywhere. Because that's the standard practice. You can't do it any other way, really. Any other way, if you were really honest, like, you would just hurt your own product. Like, that doesn't make any sense. And I don't have any issue with that because I don't give a fuck about any marketing and promises that come out before the movie's release, because of course they are gonna say how great it is. Or as if they were gonna trash their own movies before those movies even made revenue, before they even made money. Like, that's an unreasonable accusation, I think, to make that of Saw 7, because everyone does that.
know that we were not going to love it. If they honestly thought that the fans would love this movie, then they are very disconnected from their fans.
I don't really agree there either, because I really think that they believed back then that people would love the Dr. Gordon twist, that they would love that their theories were proven right, that they would, at least if they were not fine with like the first 70 minutes of the movie, they would love the last 10 minutes of it. But, well, I guess they were wrong and fans were not pleased by it.
So anyway, getting back to what I was saying, like I said, the stuff just didn't make sense. The public trap, what did that have to do with anything? You could make up some convoluted excuse for a lot of these things, but I can pretty much promise you, based on how this film went and was written and how it ended, that the writers did not.
Well, he made this review immediately after seeing the movie, and a few, only bit time after that, it was revealed that the public trap, those two survivors in it, were supposed to be Dr. Gordon's helpers who were attacking Hoffman, who were there at the support group. Those two guys. So how were they called? Brad and Ryan? Holy fuck, I still remember the names after 15 years. Yeah, Brad and Ryan. That was the purpose, to help Dr. Gordon take down Hoffman and work with him together. It wasn't, and we didn't really make the final movie because also, and initially, they wanted, after Saw 6, they wanted to make two more movies, Saw 7 and Saw 8. And those two guys would have played a much bigger role because, of course, they would have more screen time in two movies than just in one. But after Saw 6 didn't really do well at the box office. But I really blame Saw 5 for that. Because Saw 6 was a lot better than Saw 5. But I think, like, Saw 5 didn't really hit well with the audience. And that's why a lot fewer people visited Saw 6, came into kino to see Saw 6, and that's why it didn't perform well enough, and that's why they decided against Saw 7 and 8, and instead, like, reduced or fused the story of those two films into one single movie, which is Saw 3D, Saw 7.
Think of what you're thinking when you try to explain something away. So, Bobby's game, really no relevance as far as I can tell to the Saw universe. The public trap had no relevance.
Well, but what does this mean? Like, just because he didn't have a personal connection to Jigsaw before, like William had? Is that the issue? Then, like, the people in the group game in Saw 5, like, they didn't have a personal connection either to Jigsaw, you know? Jeff in Saw 3 didn't have a personal connection to Jigsaw. Detective Wick didn't have one in Saw 4. Like, I don't really think that you have to piss off John Kramer at some point in the past to be justified to be put into a trap.
The film to be be honest, the end of the film had no relevance to the film. It was
Disagree highly because this was a really good ending for the story. Like it all came full circle. It ended where it began.
He was just kind of thrown in, and it doesn't even make any sense. There are a million questions.
But it did make sense. Otherwise, you would not have predicted it 5 movies ago.
Get to some of this stuff in the spoilers, but there's too much to even discuss. The acting, we got Dr. Gordon back first of all, and he's revealed in the first couple of minutes. I saw the first 8 minutes of the film at Comic-Con, and it was basically the same. I wasn't a huge fan of it then, and I'm not a fan of it now because it was the public trap. The very beginning with Dr. Gordon is cool, then it goes to the public trap, and that's when it's just like, it honestly feels like the Final Destination 5, whatever, I don't even know what we're up to, but that's kind of what it felt like. And just right from there, I kind of looked at my girlfriend and I was like, I had forgotten how goofy the public trap was. But, yeah, so just right off the bat, it doesn't really start on a good note. Costas Mandylor, I actually don't know how to pronounce his name 100%, I hope that's right. As Hoffman, he's cool. I was fine with him. He seems to be into the series, and he seems to really like it, but, what's he going to do if he doesn't like the script, I guess? It seems like he liked it, though, so I don't know, whatever. Actually, if I were him, I would love this script, because it's literally just Hoffman is a badass. That's the film. But, yeah, I guess I can understand why he would like it. Then we've got Betsy Russell as Jill Tuck, who I thought was awful. I never really liked her that much in the other films, but just right at the beginning, she's, running around. There's a part right at the beginning, the first time you see her, it's the end of Saw 6, and the bear trap goes off in the doorway, and she sees it, and she just literally goes like this. And runs away. Are you serious? You're serious.
Yes, as she runs kind of ridiculous in a kind of ridiculous way, but that's how most people run. Not everyone runs like an athlete or a marathon runner or some kind of professional. People have ridiculous ways to run, especially women. I don't like that's such a nitpick. It's such a ridiculous small thing to complain about. And really now I can't take it serious. This is like Game of Thrones season 8 criticism of in terms of ridiculousness because it's so inconsequential. It doesn't matter how she runs, and if she runs ridiculously, people run like this. People are like this. What's the big deal about it?
Alright, and I'm starting to feel like I'm bashing the film, and I really wanted to do this review and not bash it and try to be nice about it. But, it's kind of difficult for me because I just feel very betrayed by the filmmakers. Not the filmmakers, really the producers. And the writers, but mostly the producers. Very betrayed because it's definitely, they took a good thing and ran with it, ran it straight into the ground, pushed its head into the ground and said, this is where you belong, you're done, no more money coming from you, that's it. That's kind of what it seems like. Getting back to the actors, I'm going to trail a lot on this one. I'm going to trail off completely from my top picks probably. But, of course, we have Tobin Bell as John Jigsaw Kramer, and he was in one scene, and he wore an Adidas tracksuit and a backwards baseball cap, so he wasn't really in it. Honestly, no, I'm just goofing on that because his outfit was hysterical, but that scene was one of the best scenes in the movie just because it had Jigsaw in it. Jigsaw, he was great. The dialogue really didn't make that much sense, I guess, to me. It was kind of just, making it seem like this was such an important thing to John, but it was still, it was cool just because it was Tobin, and it's nice to see Tobin. And who else? Bobby, the guy that played Bobby, I forget his name off the top of my head, sorry. But,
Sean Patrick Flannery.
he was alright. I didn't think he was bad, really. I think he was a little over the top in some spots, but he was okay. And then, the last person I will mention is the guy that played the new cop, Gibson. He was just slightly ridiculous. One of the first things that he said, and this is the writing, really, not the acting, and God, the writing. One of the first things he said was something to the effect of, he looks at Jill and he goes, she looks crazier than a sack full of cats. What? How do you even like take that seriously? How is that even possible? I don't know.
Yeah, that's kind of ridiculous, and well, it just shows that Gibson is ridiculous.
The 3D. Let's talk about the 3D. As soon as it was announced that Saw 7 would be in 3D, I said completely unnecessary. Why would they want it to be in 3D except to make more money because of the higher prices for the 3D glasses? And of course, I was right. I was completely correct. There was no reason for this to be in 3D. Yeah, there was some.
That's true, that's true. But also it's true, but then again, it's not a big deal for me. Whether they release it in 3D or not, it doesn't really make that much difference, except if it was a non 3D movie, we wouldn't get as many um, spiky traps coming right into our faces.
3D stuff coming out at you, but it was totally forced. At one point, the producers definitely said, "Oh, this movie is really, about the depth. It's it really suits the movie to have it in 3D." And it didn't make any sense. There was no reason to have it in 3D, especially if it was just for depth, because it's a Saw movie. What do you need depth in a Saw movie? But they had some goofy stuff coming out at you sometimes. They had every other trap had spikes, just
Yes.
so that they could have spikes coming out of the screen at you. It was ridiculous. So the 3D, yeah.
Also, this was the Saw movie with the most traps. This movie, including the dream sequence, had 11 traps in it, more than in any other movie. And also, funnily enough, this is the shortest Saw movie of the original 7 films, with only like 80 minutes runtime. If we exclude the outro, like the credits, if we exclude that, it's only like 80 minutes long, and it has the most traps in it.
That made me mad because it was completely unnecessary. Then we had to call it Saw 3D instead of Saw 7, and it was completely unnecessary. The directing, like I said, Kevin was forced onto this at the end. I thought that the directing was fine. I mean, I thought it was a little rushed just because it's so short, and I wish these movies were longer.
Yes, that's where I actually agree. I always disagree with the season 8 criticism and accusation of being rushed, because I can use evidence that disproves that it's not rushed at all. But with Saw 7, I can't really defend that. That's true. It is rushed. It is the shortest Saw movie with the most traps, 11 traps within 80 minutes runtime, excluding the credits. So it's basically one trap every 10 minutes or so. And I would argue, yeah, it's the Saw movie with the least storyline in it because of that. Because it puts in so much torture and blood and gore and shit. Yeah, what was my point now? So yeah, I have to admit, this movie is actually rushed. Because, like I said, it was supposed to be 2 movies. One movie about Bobby, the second movie was gonna be about the support group and the Dr. Gordon twist. But yeah, the bad revenue made by Saw 6 kinda sealed the deal and only made squeeze those 2 movies into one movie, and that's the result. It was supposed to be 2 movies, so twice the runtime at least, if not even more. Yeah, and you can feel that. It is indeed rushed. I can't defy that accusation. It is rushed. But it's still not as bad as everyone makes it out to be. Especially nowadays after everything we have seen that came after, like Spiral and Jigsaw.
The pacing was it was alright. I mean, the pacing was better in Saw 6, a lot better in Saw 6. But, like I said, I don't even really want to talk about the directing that much because, like I said, he was forced onto it at the last second. There's really not much you can say about that. I would love to know how he feels about the film. I would really love to talk to him about it. But, yeah, so I understand his position, depending on how he feels about it being forced on at the last second. But, whatever. It's really the problems here are in the script more so. And also, David Hackle kind of started setting it up too because he was originally supposed to direct it. So maybe some blame should go on to him. I have no idea. I don't know, but definitely not onto Kevin. And like I've said a few times now, the writing, I just don't want to bash it, but it was no good. So, I mean, the twists in the movie, they were really just like, who cares? Like, it was a twist that was like, who gives a shit? You know, like, it really didn't matter. And then the final big twist was, like I said, guessed by fans, made up as like a joke over the years since Saw 2. And they actually used it as the final twist. Can you believe that? I really cannot believe that I'm doing this review right now. This is insane. But yeah, so the writing was just no good. And just overall, Saw 3D was barely a Saw movie. It didn't feel like a Saw movie. The only good thing it had going, and this was the best part, and this was actually really good about it, was the music. Because Charlie Clouser comes in every year and does an amazing score, and this is no different. The music is still great. You know, if you listen to the score, I don't.
I would argue maybe even Saw 7 overall had the best soundtrack. And also the most advanced, the most modern sounding soundtrack. If you can follow me, like, I mean, there was so much like rock, I don't know the genre, how it's called. If you have listened to the soundtrack, you know what I mean. Like rock, metal, it's so in your face, so brutal that we haven't really gotten in the first 6 movies, and I really like that. It really feels like the soundtrack feels really consistent. Not saying that the other movies didn't feel consistent, but this one also felt different because of it.
Know how to compare it to other ones. It's all, you know, it's similar, but I really enjoy the music he makes for the movie. So that was good. That was definitely a good thing. Other than that, Saw 3D, and like I said, I really hate to say this, but Saw 3D was just no good. I can't believe that it was bad, and I can't believe that it was the final Saw and that it ended like this. It's heartbreaking to me because I am a huge Saw fan, one of the biggest that I know. And I went in really thinking, wow, this could be great. This could be a great movie regardless of the 3D. And I trusted the producers, the writers, everyone behind it that said, the fans are going to love it, and that promised every year that it would be a good ending and that they had something in mind. And I just feel completely betrayed. And like I said, honestly, when it ended, it felt like I had just been slapped in the face. Like, ha!
Yeah, because you fell for empty marketing slogans. Like, what else are they supposed to say?
You waited around every year and you came and saw these movies and you speculated and you defended them when everyone said they were stupid and made fun of you for saying that they were good sometimes, and you defended them and you really stood behind them, and this is how they repaid you. It's great. It's really great. Now I'm going to talk about some spoilers, which, I don't have too much to say because there's too much to say, and I wouldn't be able to fit it all into this review. So I'm going to talk about some stuff, though, so if you have not seen Saw 3D and you care to be surprised by the twists, don't watch this, and honestly, don't watch this, because if you might as well, if you're going to see it, don't know anything that's going to happen, obviously. So hopefully now no one is watching that hasn't seen Saw 3D, and let's talk about some spoilers. Right off the bat, Dr. Gordon. Let's get this out of the way. After Saw 2, someone mentioned, imagine if Dr. Gordon was kind of helping Jigsaw. He was the one that put the key in the eye and stuff like that at the beginning of Saw 2. And people were like, oh my god, could you imagine, blah, blah, blah. And then in the commentary for Saw 1, the director and the writer, James Wan and Lee Winnell, and I think even Dr. Gordon himself, Cary Elwes, I don't even know how to pronounce it, I'm sorry. They said in the commentary that Dr. Gordon was dead. Then in the commentary for Saw 2, the director, Darren Lynn Bousman, said that was not Dr. Gordon putting the key in the eye, it was just Jigsaw, and he made him limp to give it some spooky effect because they didn't expect to have fans nitpicking so much, I guess, over the years. It was just not Gordon. It was not Dr. Gordon. So, when it turned out that it was Dr. Gordon at the end of Saw 3D, and it turned out that the recurring joke among the Saw fans on websites like House of Jigsaw and just in general turned out to be true, because we always joked that Dr. Gordon would be part of it and said, no, that would never happen, it's ridiculous. When it happened, I was literally like, and I could not believe it. Really could not believe that they did that. Honestly, for a split second, I thought it was cool, and I was like, oh my...
Okay, let's tackle his issues. It's basically like Season 8 haters who use David and Dan's words out of behind-the-scenes material, outside of the actual story, content, interviews, words they used that against the story itself. Like when they mentioned she kind of forgot that Daenerys kind of forgot the Iron Fleet, which they made in the behind the scenes video trying to dissect an 80-minute long episode, an episode in Game of Thrones that is as long as this Saw movie, trying to explain this 80-minute episode within a 10-minute frame of a behind the scenes backstage interview. You can't do it justice. You don't have enough time to properly explain what happened and what your reasoning was for it. And this is the same here. And not only in this case, it's not them explaining what will happen down the line. This was like years before they made Saw 7, years before they decided Dr. Gordon is alive and will indeed help Jigsaw. Like, this is again bad faith and criticism. Like, you use their words against them in an interview or audio commentary for the movie that majority of the viewers who watch this movie will never see in their entire life. So it has no weight, it has no meaning. Yeah, they said that in 2004, 2005. And if it's not canon, if it's not part of the actual story, if it's not outright said in like season 2, in like a newspaper article or like a TV show, or Dr. Gordon has died on screen doing an actual Saw movie, then it's not canon. It's not true to the actual story that was displayed on screen. It's just off-screen commentary. It's not part of the actual story, so it doesn't mean anything until it's put on the actual story. So I have no issue with that. Them saying Dr. Gordon is dead, or this was not Dr. Gordon, this was Jigsaw that was limping towards the table to get the key into the eye. I have no issue with that. It's nitpicking. And fans figuring that out, he just said that was nitpicking. No, it wasn't. That was just fans speculating and making up their own theories, which is totally fine. Also in Game of Thrones case, it is fine, but you should not take it as gospel or be disappointed when it doesn't happen to be true or be confirmed as correct, and you shouldn't be disappointed either if it is indeed true and you just thought of it as a joke the entire time and you fell for offhand interviews that had nothing to do with the actual story.
God, Dr. Gordon is doing this, and I thought that all that happened was Jill dropped off the tape and we haven't heard from Dr. Gordon in years, like Jigsaw never talked to him after anything, and then he was telling him via the tape, hey, this guy was a part of, your trap, you should kill him or something like that. But it turned out he was part of it all along. Now, here's the problem. Dr. Gordon had a family, a wife, and a daughter. What happened to them? Did he ever go home to his family? When he went home to his family, did his family ask what happened, ask where he was kept? Because obviously no one has found the bathroom. The authorities, no one has found this bathroom. And if you say he escaped and went back to work at the hospital, nobody ever asked where he was, how he got out. Are you kidding me? His wife and child, he was pretty adamant about finding them and hating Jigsaw and wanting Jigsaw dead because he tried to shoot Zepp, and then he just helps Jigsaw, just like that. I understand.
Yeah, with him I totally see Stockholm Syndrome, just like with Amanda, who also fell in love, who kind of saw Jigsaw as a father figure to her, a mentor, a teacher, to improve her life and be finally free of like sin or addiction, which of course in reality she wasn't free at all. She was just addicted now to a person instead of addicted to substances, drugs and stuff like that. And I could totally see Dr. Gordon falling into the same trap, because I also feel he is really unstable psychologically. Whereas Hoffman was never in a Stockholm Syndrome. I kind of view it as he just abused, he just used Jigsaw to vent. Like he used him to make himself feel better, to torture other people and act like, yeah, I do this for justice, I do this to help them. No, he was just doing it to cope with the death of his sister. I think he never healed from it. Hoffman never loved Jigsaw. He never was loyal to him. But Amanda and Dr. Gordon, I can totally see that, because they are not psychologically strong enough. At least that's my interpretation, my view of them. It makes total sense. And all those other questions. I also can't really accuse Saw 7 of not addressing or answering those questions. Like, when did he went back to his family? What did his family ask? What did his work ask? Where he went? What happened to him? What did he say to the police? I can't really accuse season 7 of not answering those questions, because those questions should have been answered by an 8 Saw movie, if there ever was one. Why? Because Saw 4 also introduced and revealed at the end Hoffman as the protege, as an accomplice of Jigsaw. And after that, we also didn't know, why would a cop support Jigsaw? Why would he do that? How can he be in peace with himself and do that? How can he keep this secret? Like, does nobody ask, wow, what he's up to? Like, what is his motivation? His reasoning for supporting a serial killer? We didn't know that either after the 4th Saw movie. And it wasn't the job of Saw 4 to provide those answers. That was Saw 5's job. To give us his backstory, Hoffman's backstory, and explain his relationship to Jigsaw. That was Saw 5's job, not Saw 4's. Saw 4 had the twist, and season 5 had to justify and explain the twist. But Saw 7 was supposed to be the final movie, so I am not really mad, because we were never supposed to get a concrete answer to those questions, because that's the end of the story, and that's totally fine. Not everything, just like in case of GOT, needs to be spoon-fed for me to understand it, or for me to be able to say that it worked.
Understand that Jigsaw kind of nursed him back to life, but are you kidding me? It's ridiculous, and I don't even have...
Yes, Jigsaw afterwards nursing him back to life, that's just another more solid foundation, solid ground for Stockholm Syndrome, for Dr. Gordon.
Anything else to say about it? It's completely ridiculous. One last thing I'll say about it, though, is that honestly, if they provided some kind of explanation, sure, it's the final Saw movie, and they have no explanation for a twist that they just pulled out of their ass.
Yes, just like with Hoffman in Saw 4.
Ridiculous. I'm sorry, I'm getting upset now. I'm getting very, very angry, as I can see. Yeah, so that was just unbelievable. Completely stupid. Other than that, Saw 7 brings up all kinds of questions that we'll never have an answer, probably, because this is supposed to be the last movie. I don't know if they could answer it. I hope that at some point someone just answers it. For example, just off the top of my head, what was with the other 2 pig mask guys at the end with Gordon? Who the hell were they?
Bread and wine from the public trap.
Are we ever going to find out? Probably not. Does it matter? No. In the credits, they're just listed as random people helping him.
We did find out about it only a short time afterwards, after the movie was released.
So it's obviously no thought put into it, I'm sure. There was a scene after the credits in Saw 6 on the DVD that they specifically said would be mentioned, the writers said would be mentioned in Saw 7. Never happened. Not a single nod to it at all. They said that Seth Baxter would have something to do with the story from Saw 5. Nope. Not at all. There's just so many things.
Yes, and this is another point. I don't know if this was actually part of the marketing from the actual producers and stuff like that. I remember, like, there were rumors that Seth Baxter would play a role in this movie. There were rumors that Adam would play another role in this movie. That there would be some kind of twist. There were rumors that Fisk and Hoffman's right-hand man from Saw 4, 5, and 6 would play a role in this movie. There were all kinds of rumors. It's so long ago, but on those message boards like House of Jigsaw and Saw House, there were so many rumors going around. And I googled it just a few days ago, and I can't find them. I can't figure out whether they were from the official producers, if they actually lied about it, or if they were actually just rumors that some fans brought into the world and other people bought it and thought were legit. And it turns out they weren't. This is also another source of disappointment. There were so many rumors, so many fake plot leaks, so many supposedly um, events or reveals or twists that would happen in the final Saw movie that didn't happen. And I think that's a main source as well for the disappointment. Kind of like with Game of Thrones. There was so many fan theories, so many fake plot leaks, so many rumors going around. This is gonna happen, this is supposed to happen, and all that shit. And it didn't happen. And people couldn't deal with that. And I think this is also the reason why people mainly reject it. They got one theory proven correct, the biggest fan theory, just like in Game of Thrones. The biggest fan theory in Game of Thrones was the R plus L equals J theory, that Jon Snow is Rhaegar's and Lyanna's son. That was revealed to be true, the biggest theory as well, just like with the Dr. Gordon theory here in Saw. But since they have figured out the biggest twist, they were hungry for more. They wanted to be shocked in other ways, to be proven wrong in other ways, to be like taken off their foot. And I think that hit them. That all those theories, all those fake plot leaks didn't go anywhere. Because they were all fake. At least I googled it. I couldn't find them. I couldn't like really look up if the producers actually said that, or if it was just a baseless rumor. If I Google those theories like Fisk, Adam, or Zeph Baxter, there's nothing. Because also the House of Jigsaw board has been taken down. Saw House, all those forums have been taken down. I can't find it. I can't really verify it, whether it was the producers or the fans who made up those lies. But one thing is sure, those lies, those fake plot leaks and fan predictions and theories led to major disappointment. Just like Game of Thrones, where like at least 90% of fan theories were not only not addressed by them, but also with Game of Thrones, why Game of Thrones was a masterpiece at the end, and Saw with the final movie was not a masterpiece, because Game of Thrones D&D, they did it intentionally. Season 8's DNA is to destroy all a major amount of popular fan theories, to destroy them. And fans let themselves down with all these fake predictions.
That they said would be in this movie that were not in this movie. Ridiculous. One good thing that I just remembered that I will say about it is that they finally had a teeth trap, because I've been waiting since Saw 3, obviously, the poster, for a teeth trap. And I think that they did a great job with the trap, except for one problem. How did the numbers get written under his gums on the tooth? How did that happen? Does it matter? No. It really doesn't matter, because nothing matters in Saw 3D. It's just nothing. Nothing happened, and nothing matters. More questions now that I'm thinking about it. Who takes the photos? Hoffman's always looking at photos of people. Who's taking those photos? Is Hoffman a photographer? Does he have time to go take photos, then plan the traps, put together these massive, ridiculous traps, and then put the people in the traps, as well as have his face cut open and try to track down Jill and run from the police? You're kidding me, right? We had a dream sequence.
Again, an inconsequential criticism. It's basically a nothing burger. It's nothing. It's not even worth to talk about.
In Saw 7 with a go-kart trap. It was completely ridiculous. Jill's breasts fall out of her shirt in this trap after she's cut in half. It's just a Saw parody, really, this movie. It's just a parody of itself. Someone's in
You only say that because you haven't seen Jigsaw or Spiral yet.
trap where they're hanging from like the ceiling, and they have to fall into lawnmowers. How they woke up hanging, I couldn't tell you. I don't know how it's possible. Then she just
Fair point, that doesn't make any sense. At least the way they portrayed it.
slaps the guy in the face, and he's like, "Whoa!" and falls into the lawnmowers, and that's hilariously bad. When Bobby's pulling the key or the hook, whatever, out of the girl's mouth, and it finally comes out, there's like a little bit of stomach meat that falls on her face, and he picks it up, and it's like a joke. It honestly feels like a scary movie or something. It was totally messed up that Jill died because Jigsaw loved her, and he didn't want her to get hurt, and of course she died anyway. He obviously didn't provide her a way out as he said he would, and then he tells Gordon if something happens to her, so he obviously knew something would probably happen to her. That was ridiculous. Jill did not need to die. It was kind of, I mean, and if she had to die, it should have made sense. It was just out of nowhere.
It totally made sense, like Hoffman takes revenge in the same fashion that Jill was originally supposed to kill him to be safe. Like that was a safe way out. Killing Hoffman in the same unfair fashion that he did all those times. Like there was no way, there was no key, no game to win, there was no way for him to legitimately get out of the trap. He had to break his own hand to get out of it, and he was so lucky that he could like put his head in between those bars in the window at the door. If that wasn't there, Hoffman would have died. So there was a way out. It was just that Jigsaw didn't even underestimate Hoffman in that regard. Like he had a plan B. At least if Jill was gonna die, if she were gonna die, there was a revenge act in motion, and that was Dr. Gordon.
The only cool thing about it was that it was the bear trap from Saw 1, but, I mean, it really didn't matter. Bobby saved no one. He didn't save anyone. He didn't learn anything. There was no twist to his test, really, except for the fact that his wife got just lit on fire for no reason, basically, in this giant rocket ship that, honestly, as it was, like, coming out of the ground, I really thought that she was about to, like, blast off or something, and I really would not have...
I found that to be awesome, that the bear trap from the first movie finally was used and paid off. His wife being burned alive was a really gruesome scene. It was really bad to look at. And the furnace where she was inside and burned alive looked like a pig. So I think those traps were awesome.
Surprised at that point. The scale of the traps, especially that Brazen Bull one, it was just ridiculous. Especially if it's supposed to be Hoffman doing it alone, like I said, and he's also worried about running from the police and attacking Jill and just all kinds of crazy stuff. But, honestly, I'm gonna stop just ragging on this movie now because there's too much to say that's so negative, and I really don't want to be so mean about it, but I can't help it. It's just, as I talk about it, I get mad, you know? And before you think to yourself, oh, this kid is whining so much about a stupid movie, it's not just a movie to me, because it's just been an experience every year, and I've got memories attached to this series of movies, like just the memories around the time of seeing it, the great times going at midnight, going and seeing the movies that were before that, like there was a marathon of movies before the new one would play, and I'd go see that every year, and just going with friends, showing the movies to friends on DVD afterwards, showing it to my mom every year on DVD because she couldn't handle it in theaters, showing my grandmother, she loves the series. Honestly, I have no interest in showing them. I almost hope that they don't watch it because it's just not good. And it's more than movies, like I said. It's a big part of my life.
Yeah, the Saw movies are one of the best movie franchises of all time, the best movie stories, or at least long-running movie story with more than 3 installments there is. Like the story is so underrated. People that say Saw has no story and it's just blood and gore, those are exactly the people who only watch these movies for blood and gore. They don't care about the stories and characters in there. I always cared more about the stories and characters because they are so great. They are so deep and rich. Really amazing. That's what hooked me with Saw. Not the traps. Yeah, the traps are awesome as well. They serve their purpose, but the real heart of Saw are the characters. Like, it's so unique. You have a story where a serial killer is the protagonist, and it's a story about a killer like building a legacy, having apprentices, having accomplices, like students. Like, I don't know any other horror franchise, horror story that has that. A serial killer who is like teaching its pupils the way to torture others. And yeah, that's why Saw, at least I think, was always great and a lot more than just traps and torture.
because I've just been such a huge fan and I've been following it so intently for years and just having so much fun. And to just get the slap in the face that I got at the end of Saw 3D is just very upsetting. It's really upsetting. And I hope that the producers see this and they care, or somebody sees this and cares. If not, would I be surprised? No. But I mean, I hope I'm not placing blame on someone that doesn't deserve the blame. I apologize if I am, but, you know, whatever. Let me know in the comments what you thought about Saw 3D.
Yeah, so this video is over. Another thing that I wanted to point out is another reason for the horrible marketing. Like I said, I can't really verify if the producers were spreading those lies as well with Steph Baxter and co, or if those were just fake um, promises or plot leaks or rumors spread by fans themselves. I don't know. But another reason for the horrible marketing was the way they released. Basically, they released the entire movie as pictures. Like, they released on a regular basis, every few days or weeks, they released pictures from the movie. And now looking back, if you have seen the full movie, you could really retell the whole movie just using those pictures. Because really, they used like every single scene to waste and spoil in the marketing, except the last 10 minutes with the final trap where Bobby's wife gets burnt, where he pulls himself up with those hooks, and where Hoffman is killing everyone at the police station, and Hoffman gets put down by Dr. Gordon. Of course, that's not spoiled entirely in the marketing campaign of Saw 7, but also kinda. Not in the pictures, but in the trailers. In the trailers, we see this scene where Dr. Gordon is giving Jigsaw the picture of Dr. Lynn Denlin, I think she was called in Saw 3. Of course, we don't see that it's Dr. Gordon handing him the picture, but we see Jigsaw, so we also have that scene already spoiled by the marketing. And we also have the scene spoiled of Hoffman burning down his lair, like his secret hideout spot, where he burns like all the Billy puppets and all that shit, all evidence, and where he goes off with his backpack full of money. Not backpack, but bag, a bag full of money. So this was also spoiled in the trailers, but really, like, just using the trailers and all those pictures, man, they released so many pictures. You could really retell the whole movie just using the pictures. They used every single scene. Like, of course, that is like causing a disturbance in fans' expectations, because if they see so many pictures, they are not gonna think like that's the whole movie. They will think, oh, they are just giving us some breadcrumbs, but there's so much more in the movie that they are not telling us, like all those rumors involving Jeff Baxter or Adam or Fisk. And then it turns out, no, those pictures that they released beforehand, before the movie was released, is basically the entire movie. Like, that was the worst marketing decision. Like, why release so many pictures at all, or release pictures at all in the first place? Of course, you have to make trailers to reach the broad a wider audience and stuff, but why so many pictures? Like, of course, leading up to the movie as a fan, you are excited. You feel like you are being fed well because you always get new income and new input, new pictures, make you furious what this scene is gonna be about and all that shit. But really, in hindsight, this was horrible. Also, knowing that this movie was, we knew beforehand that this movie was only gonna be 80 minutes long, and we kind of set ourselves up for disappointment because we couldn't see that all of our dreams, all of our wishes and predictions, they could not come all true because this movie is only like 80 minutes. It's not that long. It can't address anything or everything or the majority of predictions that fans have made. Like, we had unreasonable expectations, and I already addressed that very shortly in a forum Sawhouse online after the movie was released. I addressed it in like June 2011. Sadly, the site is down as well, so I can't show you. But yeah, I would say Saw 7 is not the best Saw movie, but it's also not the worst Saw movie. And I think, is it the worst Saw movie within the original 7 movies? Hard to say. Hard to say. I would say, yeah, it's low, but I can't say if it's worse than Saw 5 or Saw 2. Like, those were my least favorite Saw movies. They were still awesome and really great. Like, there's no bad Saw movie. Even Saw 7, I wouldn't call outright bad. It's probably the weakest, one of the weakest, but not a bad movie per se. Though I would say that about Saw Spiral. It was like the worst Saw movie of all time. With Jigsaw, I kinda made my peace. After rewatching it, I think it's fine as a movie. It's still not good as a Saw movie, but as a movie in general, it's fine. But yeah, I just wanted to make this video to give a bit of hindsight and insight and showing that you can reflect, you can change your opinion. Back then, I also jumped on the bandwagon, how bad it is, how disappointing. This is the worst movie ever. But now, like 15 years later, I can't stay on that same track, especially after all those much worse experiences with Saw Spiral and Jigsaw. It's not the worst Saw movie, and it's not a terrible movie per se. It's not the best Saw movie, but not the worst. That's all I wanted to say. The video was very long again. This was my first video in English. I hope you enjoyed it, and see you later. Bye.